What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our SEC football channel. What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and we're going to give you our pre-spring power rankings for the SEC. We'll go through all the Power 5 conferences this week, and we do begin here with the Southeastern Conference. Most of the teams at the top are in roughly the same spot. I do think there might be some surprises in the SEC next season, but we're going to rank these teams as of now. We'll do this again after spring, but just based off of what the teams have coming back, who they have coming in, recruiting classes, things like that, we've put these rankings together. Number 14 is Vanderbilt. The Commodores struck out on a graduate transfer quarterback, did not get one. All the quarterbacks that played last year are gone. They're, I think, all in the transfer portal. This team lost a lot of really good players like Keyshawn Vaughn at running back. Going to be depending on most likely a true freshman quarterback to start for them. So I think Vanderbilt is clearly at the bottom of the SEC. It was a rough year last year, and I don't expect it to be much different in 2020. So I got Vanderbilt at number 14. Let's move on to a team that is still really low. They're only at number 13, but I think there's some optimism there, and that's Arkansas. Arkansas is at number 13, but I think they have potential to maybe get things turned around a little bit this year. Felipe Franks comes in, the transfer from Florida. How is that going to work? That's going to be really interesting to see. I don't think the quarterback position was the problem for them. They had Ben Hicks, who had a lot of success with Chad Morris at SMU. He did not play very well, so it wasn't because of him, because we know he was capable. I think they just have a lot of problems across the board. The roster is just going to have to get better. They have had some decent recruiting classes the last couple of years, so I think there is reason to be optimistic, but for now, we're going to hold off on Arkansas really improving very much. Number 12 is going to be Missouri. Missouri is a team also with a new head coach this season, a team that was kind of tough to figure out last year. They lost to Wyoming, and then they got hot. They won a bunch of games, and they closed out the year really not playing very well. Did get to 6-6 because the bowl band did not play in a bowl game. This is a team that is now probably going to lean on Sean Robinson, the transfer quarterback. A lot of unknowns about this team. A lot of teams in the SEC we really don't know about, so we just have to rank them the best we can. Missouri, I've got at number 12. Again, just like Arkansas, there's potential to be a lot better, but there's also potential to stay down here at the bottom as well. Number 11 is South Carolina. They had a bad year last year, but they had a brutal schedule. We ranked their schedule the toughest in the country. But you look at what they've got coming back this year, and I don't really see much reason to be optimistic about this team. I think a bowl game is possible for them for sure. But you look at the schedule, you look at the roster, I just don't know if there's enough there to say that this team's going to make a big jump. Brian Hilinski was up and down as a true freshman. I thought he was actually decent for a true freshman, and I think he's going to have a really bright future. But again, with South Carolina, I don't really see reason to put them much higher than number 11. Ole Miss is at number 10, a team that lost a lot of close games last year. Lane Kiffin comes in. There's excitement. There is excitement. You got Matt Corral and John Rice Plumlee at quarterback. You've got some young weapons at running back as well. This team is going to be really fun to watch. I think offensively they're just going to score a lot of points. Defensively, there will be some question marks there. But just like with Arkansas and Missouri, there's potential. You got a first-time head coach here, or a first-year head coach at Ole Miss in Lane Kiffin, and you just don't know for sure what you're going to get. So I'm not going to assume they're going to jump way up, but we do have them at number 10, and Mississippi State at number 9. Same story here. Mike Leach comes in, first-year head coach. This is a team that I would have actually had below Ole Miss coming into this season, maybe even below South Carolina, but they got KJ Costello, and I think that addition is really going to help this offense because they didn't necessarily have a quarterback that fit the system all that well. I think Costello will really be a great quarterback for them this season, and they just need some help from the receivers, need some guys to step up there. There's a decent amount of talent on this Bulldogs team, so I think Mississippi State could have a pretty good year in Mike Leach's first year. Let's move on now to number 8. This is a team that I really like coming into this season because of what they have on offense with Terry Wilson coming back from the injury. They've got several running backs that they can go to and a great offensive line, arguably the top offensive line in the SEC coming into 2020, a top 5 at least. Defensively, they had some losses there, but nothing too major, and you just know with Mark Stoops, they're going to have a good defense, and he is just done an unbelievable job with this program, turning them around. They are now consistently, it looks like, going to be a 7-8 type win team, and maybe more than that every now and then. Maybe this is one of those years they jump back up. They did a couple of years ago. We'll see what they look like. Number 7 is Tennessee. Tennessee is interesting because you look at the way they finished last year and you think, wow, this team has a lot of momentum going into 2020. They have a lot coming back. Really strong, young offensive line. Jeremy Pruitt's going to have that defense playing well. Guarantano seemed to make some strides late in the season, and they've got other quarterbacks there as well. But if you go back and look at who they played in those games, they didn't necessarily play the toughest competition. So I've got Tennessee at number 7. Don't be shocked if they surprise and they're a top 15 team, but also don't be shocked if they kind of drop back down and have a 6-6 season. I could see it going either way with this team. I think the jury is still out. Number 6 is Auburn, a team that has the potential, with Chad Morris taking over the offense and Bo Nix in his second season, a potential to be really good on offense, really good. Offensive line will be a question mark. Defensively, they lost some really good players, especially on that defensive line, but they tend to reload at that position. I think it'll come down to the back end, the secondary. What do they look like there? And can Bo Nix, can he finally make that next step and play good against really good defenses? That's where he struggled last season. I've got Auburn at number 6. They pretty much stayed at the 5 spot all last year in these power rankings, but we flipped them with Texas A&M. I've got Texas A&M at number 5. You look at what they have coming back this season. Kellen Mond back at quarterback. They've got Spiller at running back. He needs a little help. They don't know where he's going to find it, but they need a number 2 running back there. Wide receiver, tight end position looks pretty good for them. They did have some losses, but I think they'll be okay. Offensive line looks pretty strong. Defensively, I think they're going to be really good. I think they have a chance to be one of the top 3 defenses, I would say, in the SEC. I think it's pretty clear Georgia will be number 1. I think that battle for number 2, Texas A&M, is in it. I think their defense will be really good. Jimbo Fisher, this is his opportunity because I think they have a lot of things going for them, and I've got them number 5. Number 4 is LSU. Yes, I realize they won the SEC last year, but you look at the production that they lost. By far, they lost the most production on offense out of any team in the SEC. Joe Burrow is gone. Will Miles Brennan be able to step in and play close to that level? He doesn't have to play at Joe Burrow's level. They got some really good young running backs. Offensively, it's going to be a learning curve. I think it's going to take them a little bit of time, but the talent is there. Defensively, linebacker spot, question marks there, but they're going to have a really good secondary, really good defensive line as well. I still think they're a top 10 team, but maybe not a playoff team this year. Number 3 is Florida, a team that might get into the playoff just because of their schedule. It's a pretty weak schedule. Now, they may have to beat Georgia to get there. Of course, you could go 11-1 and lose the game to Georgia and potentially get there. But it's Kyle Trask back at quarterback. He surprised everyone last year. They'll be solid on defense. Plenty of talent at the skill positions. Offensive line is going to be a question mark for them. They've got to improve there if they're going to take the next step. And I really think that's all they're lacking. They're lacking a really good offensive line. If they get that, this team can win the SEC, in my opinion. We'll see how much improvement there is at that spot. So Florida, number 3. Number 2 in our SEC power rankings, Georgia. Georgia, I believe, will have the best defense in the SEC when you look at all they have coming back. As good as they were last year, they returned pretty much, they return a ton of production on the defensive side of the ball. So they're going to be solid there. Can Jamie Newman get it done, the transfer quarterback from Wake Forest? They've got plenty of running backs to hand the ball off to. I think they'll be okay on the offensive line. I know they had some big losses there, but they've got it. They've recruited so well. And they need some young wide receiver to step up. That is going to be an area of concern on the offense. Last year, the receivers really let them down. But just because of that defense, I think you have to put Georgia at number 2 and the favorite in the SEC East. At number 1, we have Alabama. Alabama, number 1. I think defensively, they're going to be better. You get Dylan Moses back from injury at linebacker. Front 7 should be really good for them. Back end, question marks in the secondary. But what they've been able to do offensively the last few years, I'm not too worried. I know Tua is gone, but Mac Jones, I think, will be able to step in. We saw enough from him last year to believe that he can lead this team and just give the ball to his talented playmakers. Najee Harris, of course, coming back. And it could be, that he doesn't even start. The young freshman could come in and win that job. That's going to be interesting to see as well. The offensive line is solid. So I've got Alabama at number 1. How do your power rankings look before spring practice? Let me know down in the comments below. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports YouTube channel.